Your packaging is fairly unique and frankly legendary. I love the blue shrink wrap and lots of bubble wrap. How did you develop such a thorough and effective packaging system? Well, I'm very proud of this because I helped to develop it myself quite a bit actually. Really, it's just trial and error. Back in the earliest days with the Goulet pen company, it was Rachel and myself, and we were just shipping out packages on our dining table after we would finish dinner because we weren't shipping that many packages back when we first started. I started out just not even knowing what the heck I was doing, so I tried like wrapping it up in newspaper or like whatever I had laying around. Not super professional looking, but I knew that, you know, we had the US Postal Service was, you know, I knew that we could get boxes there and they had the flat rate shipping and all that kind of stuff. So I would start out and I'd be like, all right, I have like 3 bottles of ink that I need to ship in this box. Let me just cram it full of paper or something, and as long as it gets there, it's fine. Well, of course, after I got shipping a decent number of things, I realized, oh, it's not always getting there safely, or there's a better way to do this, or it could look a whole lot nicer. So I very quickly thought, and I've done some shipping and logistics stuff before in previous phases of my life as a youngster, and I knew that bubble wrap was not the cheapest method necessarily, but it was very clean. I hated packing peanuts, always hated packing peanuts. And I knew the bubble wrap was very clean. It was very effective for the amount of space that it takes up. So, you know, for the US Postal Service, they have the slogan, if it fits, it ships. So, you know, you would have everything in one box, and as long as it fit in the box, you would pay one rate. So, you know, since nobody wants to pay any more than they have to for shipping, I would try and cram as much as I could in the smallest box possible. So getting the most effective shipping, you know, packing materials was really important back then. So I latched onto the idea of bubble wrap, and it would also, the bubble wrap would also act, you know, because it's in a sheet, it would also act as kind of a way to keep everything together. But I was finding that even still, stuff was kind of rattling around a little bit, bumping into each other, and so you get boxes of ink where the corners would get kind of bent, and when you had notebooks and stuff like that with it, stuff would just rattle around a lot. And so I experimented, and after about 6 months of shipping, you know, a few things a week, back in the early days when we weren't shipping a whole ton, I latched onto the idea of stretch wrap. And I actually started out using clear stretch wrap, which was fine, but as soon as we came up with the Goulet blue ink splatter logo, I immediately latched onto the idea of finding blue stretch wrap, and I did, and it just really just felt right, you know what I mean? So the stretch wrap thing we've been doing from very early on, and it's really been kind of a signature move that we've done, and really haven't changed that much of it. So the whole stretch wrap and bubble wrap thing has really been since pretty early on, really since about Rachel and I were both going full-time with the business, because you know, which was about 6.5 years ago at this point. Yeah. So that's how it's been. Of course, my team has latched onto that, and they've made a lot of their own tweaks and modifications to our kind of packing method, but it's essentially not much more elaborate than that. Now we use multiple sizes of bubbles if we have to, and you know, sometimes we won't use it if we don't have to. We used to use newsprint a lot in packing, but that you know, of course, uses paper, and takes a lot of time as well to do that. And the problem with paper is it compresses as it ships. So it would leave our place and it would ship out, and you know, it would feel really great when we would send it, but then in transit, the paper would compress and stuff would end up rattling around a little bit more. The nice thing about bubble wrap is it stays taut the entire time. And now there's a lot of places, you know, I do get some flack every now and then for using, you know, as much plastic as we do. There's a lot of places now that recycle bubble wrap and stretch wrap and things like that. I know specifically my local facility here used to only take number 1 and 2 recycled plastics, and it's actually been fairly recently they take all the way up through number 7 or 8, I think even. You know, I just saw the sign on there, and it's like they take like everything now, so which includes, you know, this kind of stuff. And our same thing with our, you know, ink sample vials are recyclable as well. So, you know, I know that's a concern. That's probably the biggest, you know, piece of flack that I get for most everything we do in our business, aside from shipping costs and stuff like that. But you know, that's probably the biggest thing that I get is you know, the environmental impact of some of our plastic and stuff like that. And in the grand scheme of things, like, yes, we do use, you know, a fair amount of plastic, but it really keeps the products safe. And that's we've tried a lot of different packing methods, man. We tried doing like the crinkled paper, like they had this machine that would kind of like corrugate the paper and stuff like that. We tried that, but it would compress a lot and the cost was kind of through the roof. We've tried a lot of eco-friendly things, biodegradable bubble wraps and green wraps and stretch wraps and stuff like that, and we've just not found it to perform very great. And you know, we've had supply issues and quality issues of the materials and stuff like that. So it's been difficult because you know, it's just not as widely available. And then you know, I don't want to use an inferior product. So you know, we've been experimenting. My ears are always open though. If you know of any you know, eco packing materials and stuff, I'm always open to it. But you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So I've been trying to continually hone our system, but it's pretty solid. So that's essentially how we've ended up where we are.